Hello, and welcome to our first topic for our conscious discipline theme for the year. Hopefully, you were able to attend our parent event back in September. And for October, we want to start with the basics, which is really reviewing brain states and becoming more aware of our own brain state. Because as we talked about on the 23rd, this really is an adult-led approach and controlling the things we can control, which really are ourself, our reactions, our emotions, and our actions. And so we're going to start with ourselves, but we're also going to look at the people, our kids, our spouse, people at the grocery store, to just start to really build our awareness of what different brain states look like so that we can become really good at recognizing our own so that we can then implement the tools that we have with composure to start to bring ourselves back to a regulated green state. And then also to be able to start to look at our children when they are exhibiting behaviors and really start to identify and bring awareness and stay curious to be able to identify what state they're operating in so that we know how to best respond instead of react to their big behaviors. This for me was one of the most game-changing things for me as I went and learned about conscious discipline and really began to focus on brain states and trying to recognize them in myself and others really allowed me to become more attuned and respond in much healthier ways to the people around me. And I promise you this won't only work with your kids, it's actually really helpful in your adult relationships as well. And so I want to start off really quick reviewing. If you came to the parent night, this will be a review. Your parent educator is going to bring you a handout that looks like this. And so you will be able to have it right in front of you. It starts with red. We cannot problem solve if we're in a red zone. So the red zone is kind of that back of our bottom level brainstem. This is our fight, flight, or freeze mode, where we think of, I think the best way to think of this is nonverbal. This is like bodily reactions that we're not in control of. And so when this gets triggered, usually by a feeling of feeling unsafe, and you have to think about, for kids, not feeling safe may not look the same as us. We might know that they are safe, but for them, it may feel unsafe. And some things, even just a disruption to a routine or a schedule, can really send them spiraling into feeling unsafe because we know that kids really like predictability and routine as part of their little world. And so other things that can make them feel unsafe would be boundaries that are changing and fluctuating. So I don't really know what the rules are. A parent who is dysregulated and operating out of stress or anger, frustration, even if you think you're hiding it, but if that's the tension and energy that's coming out of your body, that can send a child into that zone. And then for ourselves, what sends us into that red zone? For many people, again, if we're already stressed or tired, our child's whining might send us into a red zone. Backtalk or disrespect, saying no, not listening, all of those things, kicking the back of your seat in the car, any of those things could send us into a red zone. And so what the red zone looks like are physical things. So hitting, fighting, screaming, things where they just really look like they're out of control. And one really big identifier is that they are not going to be making eye contact with you during a red zone type of experience that they're feeling. This can also be freeze. And we don't always think about that, but this could be a child who hides under a table in a classroom sometimes. We'll have kiddos who don't feel safe in the classroom that will literally go and hide and withdraw. And that can also, again, that's physical. They're not making eye contact, so that's an indicator that they're in the red zone. For the blue zone, that's our emotional state, and the need that the child has here is connection. And so when they are not feeling connected or a sense of belonging, and with little kids in our age group, birth to 3, it really is with usually those primary caregivers, a teacher, a parent, the caregiver, or it can be siblings or other kids, but mainly with the adults that they need that connection with. If that gets disrupted, it's going to come out in an emotional way. And the difference between the red zone and the blue zone is with the blue zone, a lot of times it's more verbal. So this would be the back talking, sassing, yelling, verbally arguing with you, maybe making that eye contact. Sometimes it can go from the blue zone down to the red zone. And so you may start in the blue zone and get red or vice versa. And you can see that child going between those zones. And the question that they're really asking or needing to be answered when they're in this phase is, am I connected? Do I feel loved right now? And then the ideal place that we wish we all operated in all the time was the green zone. And the green zone is our problem solving prefrontal cortex, the top of our brain. We're firing on all cylinders. This is that executive calm and alert phase. This is where kids can problem solve. They can show empathy. They see the positive intent. And again, us as adults, this is when we're able to look at our child and go, gosh, I wonder what happened and why they're so upset, instead of taking it personally and thinking, oh my gosh, they're just trying to be mean right now, or they're trying to manipulate me. When we're able to look at our child and go, gosh, I wonder if they're too tired, things like that, then we know we're in our green space when we're able to respond calmly. And so in that state there, what can I learn? And so our goal is to help ourselves operate in the green zone as much as possible, and then have our kids operate in the green zone as much as possible. So our homework this month is going to be to start to just recognize what state people are in, and then to start to track and say, what time of day is it? What zone are they in? And maybe what was that trigger? What got myself? We're going to start with ourselves. How did I find myself in the blue zone or the red zone in this situation? And just starting to keep track of that and really trying to build our awareness around that. And then doing the same thing for our kids when we see them going into the zones. If we start to feel ourselves getting triggered, stopping and taking that deep breath and saying, okay, is he making eye contact? Is this verbal? Are they in control right now or totally out of control? And just learning this month to recognize, to take that pause and recognize and figure out what zone. I will tell you, you can also practice this out in public. So maybe it's the cashier at the store, maybe it's watching people interact with their kids in the store, or kids interacting with their parents in a store, or at your child's school, maybe at a family gathering. You can start to just put that lens on and look through those glasses of trying to learn to be aware and identify what state I am operating in, and then what state my child and those around me are operating in. And then next month, we're really going to focus and say, okay, now that I know what zone myself is in, or people around me are in, how can I help myself move through those zones back up to a green space, and then also my children. So your parent educator is also going to be bringing you a little chart for you to use if it's easier for you to have a place in your phone so that you can do it out on the go. But to just start really making observations. We're going to be little scientists this month and be really intentional on learning that. The quote that I want to leave with you that's going to be on your paper this month is: the single most important factor in promoting positive social, emotional, and behavioral well-being in children is having safe, stable, and nurturing relationships with the mother, father, or other primary caregivers. So that's the single most important factor in their development. And so our goal this year is going to figure out, how can I best show up for my kiddo in a safe, calm way so that I can best respond and help support them as they learn to regulate their emotions, and then build that self-regulation and ability to manage their emotions so that they will be ready and able to show up ready to learn. So you are going to have conversations after you've watched this month with your parent educator. They can go more in depth with you on this or answer any questions that you have. And then we'll come back next month and start really building those skills to learn how to manage the brain states that we and our children are in. Have a great month.